Shem Kudash. Shalom to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect out there. Shalom to all. And I'm going to entitle this video, What's GMS Israelites Take on Isaiah 19 and 18. And I'll read it. It says, all right, this is very much GMS flavored prophecy territory. So here's their take in plain terms. Now, when you go to the chat and you type in anything that has to do with GMS Israelites, they'll tell you that they pretty much focus on prophecies. Their very approach to the scriptures is very apocalyptic, prophetic, which is true. It says, Isaiah 19:18, KJV, talks about 5 cities in the land of Egypt speaking the language of Canaan. You know what I'm going to do? Let me do this. Give me a second here. The language of Canaan. Language of Canaan. Let's see what comes up. They shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt shall speak the language of Canaan. The language of Canaan refers to a group of northwest Semitic languages spoken in the ancient Levant, modern-day Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, and parts of Syria, Jordan, with Phoenician and Hebrew being primary examples. Canaanite languages are closely related, with Biblical Hebrew being a direct descendant and the only living survivor. So the Canaanite language was Hebrew. So let's come back over here. And we went through this before. Isaiah 19 verse 18 KJV talks about 5 cities in the land of Egypt speaking the language, speaking Hebrew. And you're going to see as I read down that the chat is going to tell you that this is not talking about ancient Egypt or modern Egypt. It's talking about America. So the chat knows us. They got our information. And swearing to Yahweh with one city called the City of Destruction. City of Destruction ultimately is talking about America being destroyed, Babylon being destroyed. Babylon is a city. Let me do this. Swearing. Let me do this. So if they're speaking the language of Canaan, speak the language of Canaan, and swear to Yahweh, that means they speak it in Hebrew, right? Let's look up the word swear. Okay, the word here is Shabai. Shabai. To swear, adjure, sworn to swear, take an oath. So who took the oath to the Most High that he's going to, that person or person shall do the will of the Most High? They find out that this is Babylon the Great. They find out that they're with the Israelites. They find out and read about the prophets, and they think that they're a prophet, so they're going to swear to take the plow, right, and not look back. It says to swear, take an oath, to swear of Yahweh or Jehovah by himself, to curse. Well, you can curse or swear that somebody be destroyed. To cause to take an oath, to adjure. When you would adjure, you would ask for blessings. You're praying. That's what prayer is. When you pray to the Father, you ask him for things. Like you might want a woman that you've been digging on, you can ask the Father to give you that woman now, and or in the kingdom. So so the word here that I want to take out is, where the hell is it? To swear, take an oath. To take an oath. Okay, this is, you got it almost 60 times. Okay, and Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, the Most High will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones from hence. Exodus 22 verse 11, then shall an oath of Yahweh be between them both, and that he have not put his hand onto his neighbor's goods, and the owner of it shall accept thereof, and he shall not make it good. Let me do this. This is a law. Matter of fact, bear with me for a minute, y'all. Let me do it this way. Exodus 22 and 11. Exodus. Exodus 22 and 11. And I'm going through this because I was thinking about what I'm going to do, and I came to mind Isaiah 19. We may do it later tonight. We might go through the whole chapter. But I remember we were going through this 6 months ago, maybe 9 months. I don't know. And I think I did a breakdown on it. I think I did the whole chapter. And I was watching other videos, and a video on IUIC came out, and they were going through the breakdown, and they said that's talking about the geographical location known as Egypt today, and the ones back, and the Egypt back then in the ancient world, after we left out of Egypt. And the brother said, IUIC brother said, oh, that proves that we were in, the Israelites were living in Egypt because they spoke Hebrew. No. This is prophetic. Isaiah 19 is prophetic. Remember, Isaiah is a prophet. So he broke it down totally wrong because if he would have said that's talking about America, then the question would have been what's the 5 cities that will speak the language of Canaan and swear by the Lord at the altar? Where's that come into play? So he dismissed it by saying, oh yeah, you had Israelites living in Egypt and they were speaking Hebrew. No. Then you have Malachi, or Deacon Malachi. He broke it down the right way. But so if I roll up on Deacon Malachi and I say, what does that mean? I don't know what he's going to say. And if he says something different, I'm going to say, let me remind you, you said that was talking about America. I wish I can find a video. I don't know. I don't remember the exact. A couple of videos that they probably put up. So I got to find it. Then I got to find where he said that. So that goes against what the first brother said, that the first video that I saw. I said, this guy's going off. And Deacon Malachi was on point. So I said, well, look, if I roll up on Deacon Malachi, I can say, what is that talking about? And if he says it's talking about America, I said, well, you guys say we don't know Hebrew. We're not supposed to speak Hebrew. We got to wait for the kingdom. So what are these people doing in Isaiah 19 talking Hebrew? What is that talking about? What is it talking about? And he would get stuck. Let me just do this. I want to go to the context. Let me go to the context. Here we go. When you come into this truth, you make an oath to the Lord that you're going to do this thing until you get delivered. So there's 11 verses the point, but I'm going to go to the 8th verse, start the 8th verse. If the thief be not found, then the master of the house shall be brought unto the judge or the judges to see whether he have put his hand unto his neighbor's goods for all manner of trespass. So in other words, if you steal something, this is the main verse, 11th verse. Give me a second. Then shall an oath of Yahweh be between them both. I'm sorry, let me read this. The cause of both parties shall come before the judges. This is where Esau gets their so-called judicial system. They got everything from Jake. And whom the judges shall condemn, he shall pay double unto his neighbor. You got compensation, then you got a punitive part. When you go to court, because we sued the city in the name of Israelites. They locked us up years ago. And what they did was they made a deal. We made a multi-million-dollar suit against them. I think $100 million. And they settled. I mean, the settlement that they gave us was all right, you know. It was nowhere near even $1 million. It was in the thousands. You know, it was 8 of us. But if we were to take it all away, because we could have took it all away and sued for $100 million if they would have been found guilty, which they would have been found guilty, they would have to pay $100 million, or the judge could say, okay, I'm gonna give you $10 million. That's my decision. But he's supposed to give you $100 million. That's a prayer. It says, if a man deliver unto his neighbor an ass or an ox or a sheep or any beast to keep, and it die or be hurt, driven away, the animal ran away, no man seeing it, then shall an oath of Yahweh be between them both, that he have not put his hand unto his neighbor's goods, and the owner of it shall accept therefore thereof, and he shall not make it good. So that's just going into the finer points of the law. You know, you steal an ox, you got to pay 4 oxes, or whatever, 3 oxes, 4 oxes. If you grape a man's daughter, and she's not engaged or she's not engaged or she's not married, you cannot put that man to death. You might want to put him to death. You can think that. You can say, I'm gonna kill this motherfucker. Then they gotta wait a minute, you can't. No. I know you mad, I know you want to kill this guy. But that's why you get them engaged at a young age. 12 years old, you get them engaged. Now, Mary could have been 12, 13 years old. Joseph might have been maybe in his 40s. You know? And you know what Joseph did? Joseph went ahead and broke the so-called treaty with Mary's father, which is Heli. He said, I want to get some on the side, and hopefully I don't get her pregnant. She wound up getting pregnant. So the angel Gabriel had to be involved. So did Joseph did wrong? Yes, he did wrong. But what's the penalty for that? If Joseph grabbed Mary and raped her, she's not engaged, she's not married, then he would give the father 50 shekels of silver, and then that's yours. You know, you break it, you pay for it, or whatever the case may be. You know? So that law could have been applied. Now this guy, Nate, got all the ups. He did this show, and he said, yes, I passed a certain camp where they actually said you can rape women. But now check this out. It's going to backfire on Nate. Nate taught a class saying you can rape women too. If you married a woman and she got a headache or whatever, a foot ache, her back hurt. Inside joke. Don't tell me your back hurt. He says, baby, you're my wife. I'm gonna take it. Well, there's not, according to IUIC, there's nothing wrong with that. She might have been sick. You want some. You know, hence you're supposed to have more than one wife, right? So the other hypocrisy of, and then they agree with Judges 19:20, when the Benjaminites were able to grab up the Shulamite, the Shulamite woman that went out and danced. Is it Shulamite? I can look. Somebody help me out. I'm not gonna look for it. When they go out to dance and dances, that because Israelite, the father said we're not gonna have any of our daughters marry Benjamin, so they had to go to these women. And when we looked it up, we wasn't sure it was Israelite women that fathers didn't go to the vow, or it was a group of a nation. We did a thing on it. I mean, I got to go back to that. Either way, you can have wives of the other nation. Let me say that again. You can have wives of another nation, but they're mostly, for the most part, concubines. They don't have the same Hagar was the wife of Aaron. I mean of not Aaron, of Abraham, because he laid in this, so that they became husband and wife. But she was of a lower status than Sarah. Sarah was Abraham's actual wife, the wife of Abraham, and Hagar would be a concubine, whether he loved her or not. One, you have two wives. One loved, the other hated, right? You still got to give your inheritance to the hated wife if she has a son or a daughter, or actually a son, before the second wife does. You might love the second wife, and you might want to say, I want to give the inheritance to the son of this woman, the second woman. No, the first dibs go to the first son. That's how the law. That's how the law works. So I just wanted to read that. So when you dealing in judgment with the judges, you're making an oath. You say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and you're making an oath. So you make an oath with the Most High. So it says how GMS understands it, and that right here says, if I didn't read it all right, this is very much GMS flavored. GMS flavor. What are they known for? The prophecies. flavored prophecy territory. So here's the take in it in plain terms. So I read this. Very important. 5 cities in the land of Canaan, and 5 cities in the land of Egypt, speaking the language of Canaan and swearing by Yahweh. So if you swear by Yahweh, you got to swear in the Hebrew, right? You got to call, you don't know Most High and Christ bless. You know, not Yahuwah, not Yeshua, not Yahweh. It says with one city called the city of destruction. The city of destruction is ultimately Babylon the Great. How GMS understands it, GMS does not read this as ancient Egypt, of course. Now, this guy from the IUIC, he always talking about Israelites living in Egypt, Hebrew Israelites, so they got to speak. No. Isaiah chapter 19 is a prophetic scripture. Matter of fact, Isaiah is a prophet. So when Isaiah says things, it could be literal or it could be a prophetic thing. And if he's a prophet, most of the stuff that he says is going to be prophecies. Or modern day Egyptians converting to Hebrew. No, that's not talking about that. They read it symbolically and prophetically, not literally, tied to Israelite identity in captivity. What captivity? America. Here's the breakdown. You know, what comes to mind is Baruch 2 verse 30 down to the end. I knew that they would not hear me because it's a stiff-necked people in the land of their captivities. They shall remember themselves. Egypt equals America, spiritual Egypt. Revelation 11:8. GMS teaches that modern America is spiritual Egypt based on Revelation 11 verse 8, spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. Now, those files, I guess all the files came out of Epstein Island, and they're just not into little girls. They're into boys and the girls. They're into like the Caribbean islands. They were kidnapping them too. So they're getting little black boys and black girls. But then they was doing it to each other. Certain high positions in government, they were two men, they were getting it in. Hey, this guy, Nero, got on his knees for Clinton. So that's a freak off. That's a major freak off. And they showed you on a smaller scale what Diddy was doing. That was a damn freak off, man. So that's why it's spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. Egypt represents captivity, and Sodom represents sodomy. The men of Sodom, the group of men of Sodom, they wanted to get to know the 2 men that were guests of Lot. By the way, Lot came back as an Israelite. He's a righteous man. And what did Lot say as a righteous man? He said, look, I can't have you take these guys and do what you want with them, but I got 2 daughters. You can do what you want. That showed you that when a man came in your house, you protected him. That's sanctuary for the man. If he's your guest and the enemy comes, guess what? You got to fight right alongside with him. So the men of Sodom, this is why this place is called Sodom and Egypt. Captivity of the Israelites and freakism. Then you had the Ephraimite chick that she was a model, and I have the video somewhere, where she started crying. She said, they eating humans, they eating, in Spanish, they eating humans, they eating humans. She said, I knew about them killing kids and stuff, but they're eating humans. Now the report was that she disappeared. After she made that statement, we don't know where she is. They killed her. Because she freaked out. But she knew that they were killing little kids. They were burying these little kids. You know, certain of these dignitaries, these presidents of different countries, they would deal with a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, 12-year-old, and get them pregnant. They would have the baby, and they would take the baby, and the woman never saw it, the girl never saw it. So this is a diabolical, demonic. These people are all of them, all of them, all of them. So they're not righteous people at all. Especially Nero. Nero's the devil that the Bible speaks of. It said Israel being in bondage again. Yes, Israel being in bondage again. This is the last bondage. We grew as a nation in bondage, and we're going to be delivered as a nation from bondage. So Isaiah 19 isn't about Africa to them. Although the IUIC taught, oh, that's Africa. No, that's Egypt. No, that was just Israelites. What language does Israelites speak? That shows you either he didn't know, he winged it, or he was told that by this guy Nate that doesn't acknowledge the seven. He doesn't acknowledge Abba Bivens. He doesn't acknowledge One West. He doesn't even acknowledge a guy named Black. I was watching Apostle Ramlob. He said a guy named Black. Right, I said that. See, he doesn't even acknowledge, because where did you learn this truth? I ran into a guy named Black. He taught me the whole truth. He never says anything. He doesn't even honor Abba Bivens because he thinks he's Elijah coming back. So that's definitely a cult right there. And Yahweh Bashim Yahushua going to do something to him. It's about Israelites in America, which is correct. 5 cities, key regions in the U.S. They usually interpret 5 cities as major Israelite population centers, like true, in America. Not always the same exact list, but typically big metro areas. Well, you got Chicago, you got Dallas, you got Florida, you got Atlanta, you got New York, New York, and New York. You got LA. You got those major cities. It's representative, not meant as a strict literal count. Beautiful. Get a hand clap, chat. It doesn't necessarily mean 5 exact city. It means there's certain major areas where you got a lot of Hebrew Israelite activity going on. And then you got the other camps too. They're in different states as well. And what do we learn? If this is America, what is it? That proves that we speak in Hebrew. It says it represents not it's representative, not meant as a strict literal count. Could be 10 cities, could be 3 cities. Speak the language of Canaan. This is big for GMS. They say this means Israelites waking up to their identity, speaking the truth of the scriptures, teaching from a Hebrew Israelite understanding, not Christian theology. Let me read that again. Israelites waking up to their identity or true identity, speaking the truth of the scriptures, teaching from a Hebrew Israelite understanding, not Christian theology. This is why I say if vocab rolls up, call the police on him. If vocab rolls up, call the police on him. Now I'm going to change that. If vocab rolls up on any of y'all, tell them you control the narrative and we can talk, but we can only go into prophecy. He won't be able to say. He don't know prophecy. So either or, so you can call the cops on him or you can control the narrative by saying, no, we'll talk, but we're just going to deal with we're going to deal with Isaiah, we're going to deal with Jeremiah, we're going to deal with Ezekiel, we're going to deal with Joel, we're going to deal with Revelation, we're going to deal with Obadiah, we're going to deal with Zechariah, Zephaniah, Micah, Malachi. We're going to deal with them. That we're not talking about whether Jesus and the Father is the same. We're not talking about that. That's played out. So y'all have a choice now, okay? So he can come back in as long as he knows them. If he don't know them prophecies, man, he's gonna look stupid. As Kawab Shema would say, you're gonna look stupid, stupid. Anyway, it says it does not mean speaking modern Hebrew day to day. It means that, well, no, it does mean part of it is Hebrew, because it says we're going to swear to the Lord. We're going to speak that language and we're going to swear to the Lord, meaning we're going to learn that language and we're going to know enough Hebrew to pray to the Lord. Every time I open a video, I say, all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rukakwadash, and Shalom to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect out there. That's a prayer right there. A greeting and a prayer. And an acknowledgement of the Most High, the Bible. Swear to the Lord of hosts. This is about Israelites abandoning Christianity. And Christianity comes against us because we're a threat to Christianity. The Christians that have a thinking brain, whose brains work, and they listen to us, they're gonna say, no, I'm not. I'm a Hebrew Israelite. And then you got a lot of brothers that were. I was a former Christian. I was a Calvinist, believe it or not. I was a Protestant. I wasn't raised up in no Baptist church. My mother had more sense than they. We going to no goddamn Baptist church. They said that when I was little. They said we going to a church where we're going to learn the scriptures. And we went. And the Protestant church, they did teach you the scriptures. They didn't have crazy music playing. They just taught you the scriptures. It says returning to, I remember I had an Edomite woman, because we had the kiddie Bible class in the basement. It was a bunch of us kids. And then she went into the 10 Commandments. And she spoke about Moses. Moses is this, and Moses, and the Most High gave Moses the laws. But she was a woman. She wasn't supposed to teach us, right? It says returning to the Most High of Israel, accepting the true doctrine as taught by the prophets as GMS understands it. Not no guy named Black. See, Black ain't going to tell you this. Black is going to have to get back. City of destruction. GMS often links this to America being set for judgment. Nuclear destruction, Babylon falling, some camps associated with a particular city. Well, they're going off. The city is America. Well, wait a minute. America's not a city, it's a country. Yes, but it's also a city. U.S. citizens. Others keep it symbolic. Either way, it's doom coded for not optimistic, I'm sorry. It's doom coded, not optimistic. Big picture. Isaiah 19 and 18. Israelites and America waking up, teaching the truth right before the destruction of Babylon. Yes, because part of this deliverance is we have to wake up and we have to go out and shout at the mountaintop, on the mountaintop, so to speak. Isaiah 13. Lift ye up a banner. Exalt the voice, shake the hand, that they may go into the gates of the nobles. Nero knows about us. These politicians, the small hats in Israel, they know about us, man. The Southern Poverty Law Center, hate groups in America, and we're on that list. IUIC, and you know what? We don't go out every week on the highways and byways. We hate you, devils. That's a devil right there. We hate you. Kiss my... No. We teach the scriptures. We don't even pay too much attention to Edomites. Now, if the Edomite rolls up and listens, he hears us talking about the downfall of Babylon, he can either walk away or he might come up and ask questions. And we'll break it down to him. So Israelites, Isaiah 19 and 18 equals Israelites in America waking up, teaching the truth. That's Ezekiel 37. Ezekiel 37, what is that all about? Where's the valley? Matter of fact, I'm gonna ask that question. Because whatever it is, so it might be Africa. So we might have to pack up and go to Africa and get rocks thrown at us. Israelites in America waking up, teaching the truth right before the destruction of Babylon, the U.S. It's used heavily by GMS to support the Israelite awakening happening now. Their street teaching, America's imminent judgment. If you want, I can also compare this to other Israelite camps' takes, explain why mainstream Christianity reject this, but we don't care what Christianity says. It's a joke. Or walk through the verse line by line with GMS cross references. Now I wanted to ask another question. I forgot the question. Give me a second here. Oh, yeah, exactly. Came back to me. Ezekiel. And you know what I got? You know what I'm gonna do? Let me do this. I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and do this. Let me come back over here. In that day shall there be an altar to Yahweh in the midst of the land of Egypt. We know that that's not talking about actual Egypt. And a pillar at the border thereof to Yahweh. So 18 verse again. In that day shall 5 cities in the land of Egypt. Egypt is America. Land of cities being major places where Israel gathered, the major cities. Speak the language of Canaan. We're going to speak Hebrew, enough Hebrew to call on the Lord. And swear, make an oath to Yahweh of hosts, one shall be called the city of destruction. The city of destruction is Babylon. So I'm going to go into this here. In that day shall there be an altar to Yahweh in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof to Yahweh. So we already made an oath. To swear to the Lord is to make an oath. You guys that fell off, you broke that oath. So let me come down here. Let me do it this way. So this is a continuation. The spirit hasn't changed. It's a continuation. Give me a second. Here it is. What's GMS Israelites' take on Isaiah 19:19? Got you. This verse sits right on top of verse 18. Right. It's the same spirit. It doesn't change. So certain times prophecies change up. They'll go a different direction from one verse to the next. It's the same, how can I say, the same message teaching, so they read it as the next text in the same prophecy. Exactly. Isaiah 19:19, King James Version. In that day shall there be an altar to Yahweh in the midst of the land of Egypt. and a pillar at the border thereof to Yahweh. Here's GMS take, clean and straight. And that's the best way to be, clean and straight. That's the inside joke. In that day, for GMS, this means the last days, which is right now, right before Babylon, America gets judged. No ancient history now. Egypt equals America again. Same setup as verse 18. America equals spiritual Egypt. Place of Israelite bondage. Deuteronomy 28. And you can try all you want to get around Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy, when you read Deuteronomy 28, that certain parts of it is like a script from like Roots, Mandingo, Drums, 12 Years a Slave. Oh no, Deuteronomy 28 and 68 it's not talking about the slave ships. It's talking about, they'll mention the time, that's the 70 AD when they took the Hebrew Israelite boys and they sold them into slavery, but the Hebrew, no. This is what these Christians say, that they shall sell themselves and no one wants to buy them. That never happened in history. There's never been a time in history where you had a group of people, a nation, go to another nation and say, we're selling ourselves to you to be slaves. And say, I'm not interested in having a slave. Okay? They abolish slavery. No. So that shows you the weakness of Christianity. Christianity is weak, especially when it comes to prophecies. Them guys never argue about, like with Captain Ezek, they never go into prophecies. They had the one guy, I call him Tony Robbins, the Mexican guy. He talks like this, talks like Rocky Balboa. Yeah, if you go to the scriptures, and I'm cracking, I'm laughing my ass off. I said, no, that's not Sylvester Stallone, that's Tony Robbins. That's big head Tony Robbins. Which look up Tony Robbins, you see what I'm talking about. And this guy was going into, I said what the fuck is Captain Ezek doing there? What point? Do you think you're gonna get this guy to come over to y'all? Are you crazy? You can't get that guy to come over you. Anyway, it says, backed by Revelation 11:8. So the altar and pillar, right, Revelation 11:1 on down. The inner court, right? The inner court and the outer court. That cuts them Gentiles. The Gentiles can't come into the inner court. So the altar and the pillar are in America, not Africa. You heard that, Bishop Nate? Did you hear that, Bishop? It's not in Africa. That's why the question I was going to ask, and I'm going to ask that next, is what is GMS take on the Valley of Dry Bones? Because it has to be talking about one landmass. Here this guy busy going to Africa. He went out of his way to get almost every African tribe and say, oh, you this tribe, the Booby tribe, that's Judah. The DB tribe, that's Judah. The Bubbler tribe, that's Ephraim or whatever. I said, you had to have sold out, man. I see why you said a guy named Black taught you, man. Because blackness represents nothingness, void of light. So who taught you? Blackness. So the altar and pillar are in America, not Africa. Let me read that again. So the altar and pillar are in America, not Africa. So why are you over there in Africa? Why are you over there? You went over there to the Solomon Islands for nothing. You ain't got one. Man, I can make y'all really look bad. All I got to do is I'll go to IUIC Nigeria. Ain't nothing popping. IUIC Kenya. Ain't nothing popping. Certain islands, West Indian islands, there ain't nothing popping down there. You got to get on the horn and talk to them and tell them you got to make more videos because the spirit ain't on them. See, now, as with GMS, we don't got to say nothing to them brothers. They are on automatic pilot. I don't got to call Dallas and say, what y'all doing? Y'all haven't made a video in a month. What's going on? Oh, we're going to get around to it. We just need a little break. No, they ain't going to say nothing like that. And then anything that happens in the camps, I don't got to think about it. It'll come back to me. You know, a bird brings it to the king. A little bird. Let me go ahead and see if I can find that. Give me a second here. It's either bird or little bird. I'll find it. Okay, let's do it this way. It's only an NLT. Okay, here it is right here. Ecclesiastes in the regular Bible 10 verse 20. Never make light of the king, even in your thoughts. You don't make fun of the powerful, even in your own bedroom. For a little bird might deliver your message and tell them what you said. So let's go ahead and get that in. In other words, it's going to get to us. You think you're doing stuff, you might be doing some wicked ass shit for a number of years, then eventually we catch up to you. Ecclesiastes, King James Version, 10 verse 20. Curse not the king, no, not in thy thoughts. And curse not the rich in thy bedchamber. For a bird of the air shall carry the voice, and that which hath wings shall tell the matter. Now the modern wings are the surveillance system. So you say something, they got your phone, you talking on the phone. They got all this. We're living in a digital prison. Okay, so now let me come back over here. I'm sorry. Let me come back over here. So the altar and pillar are in America, not Africa. An altar to Yahweh. This is not literal stone altar. Thank you, chat. Where two or three are gathered in my name, I am also in the midst. So, does Yahweh Shai go amongst the IUIC members? No, because they're not gathered in his name. They're gathered in the name of Christ. That's why they can't see the mark of the beast being a microchip. Now, I believe he sold out. They told him, look, don't, deceive him about the mark of the beast, and you're going to get X amount of money. Okay, that's good. The elite didn't pay off everybody. So they're just blindly following this guy, and he's going to be found wrong. That's Nate, General Yohana, Captain Zazariak, Captain Katazak, and whoever else. GMS got it 100% right. That's why we're known as 100% camp. It says the altar equals teaching, sacrifice, and that's in the scriptures. Sacrifice of praise. Our sacrifices in our prayers. Israelites offering sound doctrine. Israelites, not unsound, but sound doctrine. Sound doctrine. Here we go. Let's read a few of them. Sound meaning healthy. If you're teaching the mark of the beast is sin in all of its forms, that's not sound doctrine. If you're teaching that the mark of the beast is sleeping with white women, that's not sound doctrine. If you're teaching King Solomon had the mark of the beast, that's definitely not sound doctrine, because the beast wasn't even thought of. So that shows you that when General Yohana made that statement, he just plucked it out of the air. He said the Apostle Paul had the mark of the beast. Well, how did the Most High deliver him if he had the mark of the beast? The mark of the beast is yet to be fully fulfilled. It's partially fulfilled. Certain people, they're going to do something that's going to make the world, 80% of the people, they're going to take it. Then you're going to have to work on the others. And then you're going to have us and others that's going to buck up against it. We might get thrown in jail. We might get put to death. So get in the mindset of being put to death. Death ain't so bad. You just transition. You go into the spiritual realm. And then you're coming right back anyway. And then when you come back, you're going to you're going to show hate. Something that Nate said you can't do. You can't hate the white man. Only the Most High can hate the white man. Psalms 139, I believe it's 21, verse 21. It said, do not I hate them, Lord, that hate thee. This man hates them all. He don't love them. This man don't love the Most High. He hates the Most High. It says, for whoremongers, for them that defile themselves with mankind, for man stealers, slave catchers, for liars, for perjured person, liars, bearing false witness, and if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine. IUIC is contrary to sound doctrine. Now, they got most of it right, but you got to get it all. 99 just won't do. You got to have 100. 2 Timothy, that was 1 Timothy 1, verse 10, 2 Timothy 4, verse 3. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. So we're telling them, we constantly how many thousands of videos did we put up on the Mark of the Beast, and they still can't see it. They can't see it because they refuse to see it, and their zombies just blindly follow them. But after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ear. Titus 1 verse 9, holding fast the faithful word as he hath been taught, that he may be able by sound doctrine both to exhort and to convince the gainsayer. So these guys are gainsayers. We're supposed to be able to convince them otherwise, but the reason why we can't convince them is them guys sold out. In our opinion, we can't prove that. We know that Genesis straight up sold out. This guy Hakar, he don't got the fitted on. I think he wear a Yankee fitted. He got a big bald head with with glasses on. He got a dress shirt with a tie. He pretty much a pastor Hakar. He definitely, so they flipped him around, boy. They changed him overnight. It says Titus 2 verse 1, but speak thou the things which become sound doctrine. You got to speak the truth. If you're not sure, you heard us say it, you should say, well, let me go ahead and really research that. Let me go into none of you guys go into the Greek, the word for mark, the root word for mark, or charagma, which is charax. The root word for charax is the word grapho. That all describes, when you put them three words together, the translation, that all describes a needle going in you, in a man's or woman's hand, right hand, or forehead. That's the chip. That's clearly the chip. For you to not see it, you guys sold out. You were paid not to see it, to act like you don't see it, to deceive your zombies, because they all zombies, man. That includes Captain Cesario. You're following the wrong dude. So anyway, let me come on back. Israelites offering sound doctrine, teaching Yahweh's name and Yahushai, the Messiah or Jesus, true identity in their view. Now you notice it says, chat tell you that we use the word Yahweh, not Yahweh, and Yahushai. They'll often cross-reference Malachi 1 verse 11, pure offerings from the Gentiles. Hebrews 13 and 15, sacrifice of praise. Romans 12 and 1, living sacrifice. Yeah, we as living sacrifice. Sacrifice of praise. Basically, street teaching, altar service. Good, beautiful. And that's also described in Isaiah 34. It says we're going to be on the altar. So the way the way Babylon is going to be destroyed is similar to a sacrifice, blood sacrifice, because it mentions the Edomites as being goats and bulls and rams. Actually, it's talking about Edomites, so they're going to be it's ceremonial. When this place goes down, this is an ongoing ceremony. We came out there, the Most High put the Spirit on us to come out there and teach, do the videos. This is all part of the ceremony. And at the end of the ceremony, we're going to be beamed up, and America, which is the altar, is going to be burnt up. It's going to be, the reason why it's going to go out by fire, because it's a burnt sacrifice. Read it. Isaiah 34. In the midst of the land, which is America, meaning not hidden, public, right in the center of Babylon. This is why GMS emphasizes street corners, highways, city centers, etc. Well, we got the web too. They see their camps as fulfilling this. Of course, because who's doing what we're doing? What group of people are out there with a 12 tribe sign? And Bishop Nate completely changed the 12 tribe sign. A pillar at the border, this is symbolic too. GMS usually teaches pillar, a sign, witness, a public marker of Israel's identity, warning of coming judgment, and we do that. They'll tie it to ancient pillars as memorials or warnings. Lot's wife as a warning sign. She became a pillar. Prophets standing as witnesses against a nation. That's us. So Nero gonna come after us too. Some camps say border, hints at ports, coasts, or entrances to America, places of trade, migration, and influence. Big picture, GMS lens. Isaiah 19:19, Israelites in America openly teaching true doctrine and standing as a witness and warning right before Babylon's destruction. When Egypt went down, Moses set up Moses, right? Verse 18, awakening and speaking truth. Verse 19, public ministry and warning system. Together they justify street teaching, camp structure, claiming fulfillment of prophecy in real time. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? Let me go here. I'm almost done. Hang out with me. Ezekiel 37. Give me a second. Give me a second here. Okay, it says Ezekiel 37:1, then the hand of the Lord was upon me and carried me out to the Spirit of the Lord and set me in the midst of a valley which was full of bones. Okay, that's what I'm going to ask. That's what I'm going to ask. So, chat be telling the truth. Most of the time, 90% of the time. All right, Ezekiel 37. Did I put it 37? I put Ezekiel 37:1. Core GMS doctrine. So take on Ezekiel 37. 1 is very established. Ezekiel 37:1, the hand of the Lord was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of Yahweh and set me down in the midst of the valley which was full of bones. Here's how GMS reads it. The hand of the Lord was upon me. Ezekiel is acting as a prophet chosen and empowered by Yahweh. This isn't imagination, it's divine revelation. Set the stage for a prophetic vision, not a literal scene. They'll often use this to justify prophetic authority and revelation today in a lesser sense. Carry me out in the spirit. This is key for them. They say Ezekiel is seeing future conditions, not his own time period. A vision of Israel in the last days. A vision of Israel in the last days. A vision of Israel in the last days. So, and they better mention America. So the chapter is end time prophecy, not ancient Judah history. The valley, I'm surprised they ain't said America. The valley, GMS interprets the valley as a low place. Yeah, low is a place between lowland between two mountains, but it also could represent morally low. Sodom and Egypt, symbol of captivity, humiliation, and oppression. The common connect it to, or they commonly connected to Deuteronomy 28, the curses. Read Deuteronomy 28, and it sounds like a script from the movie 12 Years a Slave. Israel being brought low among the nations. Full of bones. This is the big one. GMS teaches the bones represents Israelites scattered among the nope, it's talking about America. It's talking about the Israelites in America, not scattered all over the place. The message is going to the Israelites in America, especially the so-called black, native, Latinos, and Native Americans, a people who have lost, all of them have lost. Jamaicans, they'll say they're Israel, but they don't really link up to it. They're like spiritual Israel. Gad don't know. None of them know that they're the Israelites. That they're the descendants of the ancient Israelites. Lost identity, lost heritage. Heritage means land, but with the land comes your culture. Lost hope. They are alive physically, but dead spiritually. That's Revelation 11. They'll emphasize bones equals literal corpses. No. That means they're dead in the mind, in the spirit. It's about a nation with no remembrance of itself. In the land of thy captivity, thou shalt remember thyself. Baruch 2:30, on down. How GMS frames verse 1 overall, a vision of Israel in the last days, which is now in captivity, identity-less, spiritually dead, and scattered. This sets up the rest of the chapter. Awakening through prophecy, teaching, noise and shaking, organization, breath entering, spiritual understanding. Beautiful, chat. Israel standing. Chat is better than IUIC. Israel standing as an army, erect, mean you woke up. You that army in the spiritual sense. GMS uses this chapter heavily to explain the Israelites awakening happening now. Why they teach on the streets. Why most Israelites initially reject the truth. Yes, because eventually the ones that are of the elect are going to wake up to it. But that's it. That's it on that. Let me do this. We do it this way, valley. Could the valley I'm sorry, valley. Be referring to America. Referring to America. Hope this is short. From a GMS Israelite standpoint, yes, America absolutely can be and often is identified with the valley, but they'll add a little nuance to that. It's talking about it exclusively. This is the answer for you, Bishop Nate. You have no business being in Africa. Your business, if you're a prophet, because maybe you're a false prophet. At this point you are, until you prove otherwise. You might be an elect at the end of the day. The whole focus is here in America, and I keep bringing this up. When the YouTube era, when the 2007, 2008, 2009, had all these different camps, 14th Street Israelites, this camp, that camp. You had a whole bunch of camps in New York. And through the years, them guys, they went back in the world. They turned their back on the plow. They might go out on special occasions. If there's a special, something major happening in the city, they'll come out. Or there might be a big thing in Washington. They'll take that long drive down to Washington and they'll set up camp. And then after that day, you don't see them for like the next 5 years. So the prophets have to be consistent. And you guys are just not consistent. I'm not going to name no names. Short answer, GMS style. The valley represents a low condition of Israel in captivity, and America is the primary modern location of the valley. Not the only place Israelites are, but the main stage of the prophecy in the last days. So what in the hell are you doing in Africa? What in the hell are you doing in the Solomon Islands? Then he's telling the people, there's thousands of islands. We got to hit all of them. No, you don't got to hit all of them, man. Read Matthew 10. I believe that's 25. Why America fits the valley, a low place, captivity and oppression, and spiritual, morally low. Like I said, these Epstein Islands people, and this guy keeps saying, I would never on Epstein Island. They got 1,000,001 pictures of you with Epstein, but you never been on the island. Fuck out of here, man. In scripture, valleys symbolize being brought low, judgment, weakness, and defeat. GMS connects this directly to Deuteronomy 28 curses, chattel slavery, Deuteronomy 28:68, systemic oppression. They ain't even talking about reparations, man. A loss of identity. You Negro, you ain't Israelite. They'll curse us out. They'll call us anti-Semite for simply saying that we're the Israelites. How can you disprove that we're the Israelites? It said they were scattered all over the place. Said they're going to look like a speckled bird. So what are you talking about? America checks all those boxes. Almost finished. Hang out with me. Full of bones, fits in the condition of Israelites in the U.S. GMS teaches the bones are Israelites who don't know who they are, true, deadheads, boneheads, spiritually dead, but physically alive, right? Revelation 11, cut off from heritage, language, and covenant. What does it say in Isaiah 19 and what is that, 18? It said they're going to speak the language of Canaan. So they were cut off from their language, but we got the language back. Thanks to, what's this guy? What's his name? Eliezer ben Judah. What's his name? The Bible English Hebrew English dictionary by Eliezer Judah, which was Yitzhak Perlman. He came up with the modern Hebrew, and he said that the real Hebrew is the Arabs are speaking the real Hebrew. So that's why we changed a little bit through the Spirit. The Spirit worked with us to get the Hebrew right and to know enough to put the what do you call it, the oath up. We know enough Hebrew to put up the oath. Where else do you see millions of Israelites walking around, call themselves by slave names, right? Worshiping a false image and thinking they Gentiles. So the density of bones, Israelite population concentration, which they argue is strongest in the Americas, linked to spiritual Egypt and Babylon. This is where GMS ties everything together. America, Egypt, Isaiah 19, Revelation 11:8. America, Babylon, Revelation 18. Valley of dry bones, Israel in those systems. Important nonce, they usually won't say the valley only equals America. No, it does equal America. That's exactly what it equals. Instead, they'll say the valley is condition, America is chief location of that condition in the last days. Remember, the deliverance is going to come out of America. The majority of the elect is going to be here in America. Other places, Caribbean, Latin America, parts of Europe, can also be part of the, no, it's not. No, it's not. But America is the focal, thank you. America is the focal point, not no damn Africa. And then when they set up in France, they totally kicked them out of France. We couldn't go to France. They'll lock us up. How this fits the rest of Ezekiel 37, GMS logic, Valley, America, captivity, bones, Israelites without identity, noise, and a shaking, Israelite camps teaching, people waking up, breathe, understanding the spirit, exceeding great army. In other words, we're not stopping. We're going to keep doing these videos. All day today, Saturday, all day today. The elect waking up, not just any Israelites. So yes, in GMS teaching, America isn't stretched at all, isn't a stretch at all. It's basically the default modern application. All right, so anyway, with that, I went a little long. Please forgive me. Shalom, on to the next. Prophecy, prophecy, prophecy.